What's up, y'all? My name is Aaron. I'm from the Bronx, New York, and this poem is called Inner Child. The screaming, slamming, foaming at the mouth, words choke air like drowning or smoke. You feel powerless. You lack control. Heat rising. Peeking through your bedroom door, it feels thrilling hearing them argue. They never see you watching or care if you hear like, bitch, cunt, motherfucker, cokehead, piece of shit, get the fuck out my house. Now this is my fucking house. Mouths foaming. Words like water that enter your ears and take shape of your imagination. Words that would mark the soundtrack to your dreams for years after. Heat rising. Now peeking through your bedroom door, it no longer feels thrilling. Whispers in the dark to your little sister, wondering how she's feeling. Her big eyes peeping. Did daddy really hurt mommy? Why is there sugar on their nose? Need control, 4 young ears yearning. Beads of sweat on their face, the house is burning, and it's all your fault because the TV said only you can prevent forest fires, but you weren't responsible enough to put out fires you didn't start yourself, but you believe you did. And somewhere that guilt still lives inside you. It did then, it does now. Heat rising, and you always wanted to be a fireman, like your granddad. Irony. Now cover your ears. Coping isn't copacetic. Cognitive dissonance, you'll soon forget it. Fear intercepting, nerves targeting your system. Arguing moves to the kitchen. Not this again. Something breaks in the distance. Something breaks inside of you. Find peace and picking up the pieces. And you wound yourself in the process. And you bleed. You bleed. So painful. So painful. You dip your hand into the blood and you finger paint a scarlet angel in hopes that it might save you. But who's gonna save them? And that's a mentality I still carry today. Always putting out fires nobody fucking asked me to because I need control. Heat rising, and if I could, I would travel back in time to my inner child and I would tell him, you do what you do and you adapt to your environment in order to survive. All you see is chaos, so you feel chaos inside. You found it hard to sleep at night, so you started taking PMs to cope. Bad habits stack, bad habits grow, believe me, I know. I'm in my 20s now and I count me more of those because we never had a safe space to regulate our emotions, and vices feel like blankets when the world is cold with commotion. And just like blankets, vices weigh you the fuck down. And if I could, I would write a letter to my inner child, and I would travel to my inner child, and I would find him peeking through his bedroom door, coughing, choking, falling, stumbling, gasping for air, and I would say it's okay to lack control. It's okay to let fires go. And all these feelings you feel, they're not yours to hold, and I would hold him, and I would hold him, and hold him, and hold him, and I wouldn't let him go. All to say, I got you. I got you. Heat subsiding. And that's it.
Woo! Man.
Another episode. Kill the Poet. We got our boy Aaron, aka Aaron from the Bronx, aka Nuance, aka Pensive. AKA Pensive Poet.
Damn, Mad AKAs.
Mad AKA.
Just say my social security. You already said the government. Just say my social security at this point. You want to know my mother's name, maiden name? Like, what do you want to know?
I mean, you got it? Anyway.
What do you go by though? For real, like what do you go by as an artist?
Honestly,
artist, what do you
as
think?
an artist, I feel like I need a cool poet name. Like I don't have a cool poet name. Like, do you have a cool poet name? I like Aaron, like Aaron if you're feeling sexy or spicy or anything in between. But I feel like I need a cool poet name. Does
You don't
anybody have
need
any?
one. You don't need
I
one.
feel like the more natural, the better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we were saying earlier, it's like it don't really matter as long as you feel good about that shit. Like, you know what I mean?
That's true.
Yeah.
Hey, but fucking what was the other one before you said pensive? The
Pensive, nuance.
nah, nuance.
Aaron,
that's the one.
Nuance.
You know I'm gonna go by Aaron. I like Aaron.
Hey, fuck it.
I like Aaron too, dude. I like Aaron too.
know?
And Aaron, another thing that I like is your poem, Inner Child. Right. That's I got
Inner
the child.
Child, yeah.
All right, cool. There was a lot of cool things in there. Obviously, you're talking about a lot of stuff here about being a child in a home where, I mean, you had a really cool line in there where all you know is chaos, but something along those lines is like you've known chaos, but no, you grew up with chaos, so chaos is all you know. Basically, along those lines. Yeah.
I like that you picked up on that. It's like you did what you did. You adapted to your environments in order to survive. All you saw was chaos, so you feel chaos inside.
Yeah,
you find it hard to
Yeah.
sleep at night.
Yeah. And that was really cool. So tell me tell us a little bit about that. Is that your inner child? Is this someone's inner child that you've met?
Well, first of all, like when did you write that? Like when did you find yourself putting that on on paper or on your phone or whatever?
Both those are good questions. I think looking back on it, I felt like I know for a fact it was about 6 months ago.
Mm-hmm.
And it just came about like I was writing lyrics, I was writing bars, and I think it's the same for a lot of poets, rappers, or just artists in general, where you start writing something, right? And then your pen is like, no, you shall not pass, like, you know?
Yeah.
So I was writing something else, and then out of nowhere, like that bar came out, those lyrics came out, and my pen was guiding me towards something else. And I started writing that, and I cried for the first time. And I don't, like, not to say I know masculine shit, like, oh, I don't cry. But it's hard for me to cry, and I teared writing those lyrics because they meant a lot to me. But yeah.
Was that the first time that you've written something like in that subject matter?
About my inner child?
Yeah, or at least about, because I know for me, like I've written poems kind of about like my childhood, but not about the kid that was actually experiencing that childhood. So like, have you written like stuff that kind of had to do with that? All of that, but basically, yeah. Have you written stuff about that?
I actually haven't. No,
Okay.
I haven't. Yeah, and I think it was just hard for me to delve deep like that and be introspective. But I haven't really written about that type of stuff because it's easier to write about sex. Let's be honest. It's easier to write about love.
Yeah.
Like how many love poems, love lyrics. Like it's just easier, you know.
They've been doing it
You
for
performed
years.
it. You performed it in front of people yet, or
Yeah, I performed it in front of. I mean, I think you
besides
were
the-
there.
Yeah, I've heard it. Yeah.
Like in front of No Name, the rapper, and like just
bet. Yeah.
and a bunch of people.
How do you feel about how it translates to a crowd? Like, because you talk about like writing poems about like love or like about girls and shit. But how do you think this translates as opposed to that to the crowd? Because I feel like they would get more like locked in that feeling. You know what I mean? The more uncomfortable kind of feeling, or maybe people will really relate to that shit. Like, how do you differ the two, like based on the audience?
I mean, that's real. That's a real ass question. I think like to answer that, I would have to go into my theory of art, and I've always struggled with the idea that like. It's a balance when creating any type of art, whether it's lyrics or music or poetry. It doesn't fucking matter what type of art.
Yeah.
Is you want to speak on your truth, right? You want to speak on what's real. But you also want people to feel what you're saying, or else you might as well write art in a vacuum and just put it in a little bottle and just throw it into the trash because nobody's going to hear it, right?
That's facts.
But, damn, I fucking forgot the question.
No,
But
but you answered
but
it,
I'm
yeah.
on to something.
Based on how they react. how they react to this other side of you. You know what I'm saying? And I guess a flip side to that question would be how you feel about giving that side of you that people aren't more familiar with hearing about. Like, how does that shit feel? Like, for real, like, because that shit's fire. Like, the poem itself is, like, incredible. So I would feel, like, really good about that, especially because you're giving your most personal self. And it's like, if people love it, then automatic, you know what I mean? But how do you feel about it itself? Like, you know?
Yeah, nah, that's real. And I appreciate that. I feel like myself, I feel good about it, but it definitely takes a lot of energy out of me to perform that. Like, if I'm at open mic and I perform that, it's because it's what's calling me to say, but it definitely takes out a lot of energy versus saying a poem that's just about love or relationship. Not that that's not a worthy topic. That's a worthy topic, but it takes a lot less energy out of you to talk about something that makes you feel good, right?
Yeah.
And it definitely makes me feel good to say it, but also takes a lot of energy out. And I would hope that people, and I guess going back, like, to see, now I'm seeing the train of thought. You see, y'all see the vision, right?
Of course.
And I would hope that, like, my experience is not anybody else's experience. The same thing with you, the same thing with you, right? But I would hope that from saying that poem and the lines, people are not going to relate completely, but that they see some vessel of truth, whether it's feeling misunderstood or whether it's feeling like they're not being taken care of, and so they spend their whole lives taking care of others, and they're trying to constantly fill a void in their lives that's not reciprocated, that's not filled.
Yeah, man. And it's crazy because you could even, like, see that from the other side too. Like, it's like, in terms of people in the crowd taking that information in, it's like they could be the parents themselves looking at themselves or reflecting, you know what I'm saying? Or maybe like new parents or something like that, and being like, yo, like, I don't want to be that, or I don't want to make those kind of mistakes, so that, you know what I'm saying? Like, so it flips on it, and it's like everybody gets that.
And it is crazy.
You know what I'm saying?
Going like to that point, you know, you're speaking to your inner child, but I feel like oftentimes, and it doesn't even have to be like, you don't even have to be a parent, but sometimes you're just doing your own thing, and you could do something that probably for yourself doesn't seem like that big of a deal. I'm just handling something, but to that other person, it might be a thing that they will never forget for the rest of their lives. You know, so it's like, I would think, like, especially, and it's funny that we're even talking about this, because I've been thinking about it a lot. Like, you think about the things that you do now and the patterns you fall into, or why you feel certain ways about certain things, and then you can sometimes track it back exactly to that inner child and what that inner child saw, and like how that inner child dealt with what that child saw, you know. And in your poem, one thing that I also picked up on was the control, because you were in a very chaotic environment that you had no control over, you know. So then it's like, you can see how, as you grow up, how that manifests into certain aspects of your life, and things that you didn't even know. It's just something that you did. It was something that you did to survive, really. Like, it's a survival tactic, and it's like your body and your mind's like, all right, this works. It helped me out of that. I think if I just keep doing this, I'll be all right. But like, you're conscious, like, it's just like, why do I keep doing these things? Like, why, you know? And it's just like something that, you know, keeps you comfortable. It's very interesting.
Real.
Yeah,
that's real.
Yeah, no, yeah, it's crazy. Another line that I really liked was, and I thought it was very tongue in cheek, because initially I heard it and you were still going, but then I put it together. I was like, oh, it was the I think it was like 4 ears yearning for, like, peace, and I'm assuming you're talking about you and your younger sister.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know?
Four young ears yearning beads of sweat on their face, the house is burning, and it's all your fault.
Yeah. And when you say it's all your fault, are you referring to yourself, or are you like talking about like, you know, the parents of the story?
That's a good question. I mean, I was talking about, like, just in general, when I use the your perspective, I'm talking from the perspective, like, as we all, like, you know how it's just, people always say, like, you know, the old, like, euphemism, like, oh, you have voices in your head, like, oh, that person's crazy. But I feel like we all have voices in our head, right? And that there's a judgmental part of ourselves. Like, whenever you do something fucked up, like,
Your ego.
You're right. Whether it's your ego or whether it's just
Your conscious.
exactly right. We have those parts of ourselves, and that's so I was writing from that perspective of myself, like the voice in my head of like, this is what you did, this is who you were, this is who you might be. And so when I was saying that's I'm referring to myself from myself. But it's like 4 young ears yearning, beads of sweat on your face, the house is burning, and it's all your fault because the TV said only you could prevent forest fires, and you weren't responsible enough to put out fires you didn't start yourself. And I was referring to, like, do y'all remember?
Yeah,
I mean, I grew up in New York, but you remember Smokey the Bear?
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah.
I know California was a bigger thing.
Oh, dude,
Yeah,
we know Smokey the Bear.
Smokey's active, boy. Smokey doing
in
laps
California for
in
sure.
California.
Nah, for real, like,
You're from the Bronx.
That was like the Drake of, like, fucking the forest. That was like the Drake of the motherfucking forest. Like, that was Drake.
Yeah.
He was.
Like, he was.
Yeah.
Nah, that was some hot shit right there.
Yeah. No,
Literally. That was some hot shit right there.
Smokey ain't got no rest, bro.
You know, you see the vision, you see the vibe, you see the vibe.
Oh my god.
But no, exactly like that. Like it wasn't even about a theme. It was like that's what came out naturally because I felt like I was always putting out fires, and I think a lot of people can relate to that. Like always trying to manage their parents.
Yeah.
And just always trying to make sure that they're safe or their sibling is safe, and you really can't control that. And then I saw that commercial over and over, like only you could prevent forest fires.
And you're like, yo, that's me.
And it's like,
you know,
wait, should I have prevented this? But it's not your feelings to hold. It's not yours to control.
You know, there's also another side of this that I feel like is rarely talked about. It's like there are people that grow up in environments where they feel like they have to fix everything. And then there are people that also live in environments where it's like there's a lot of things that need to be fixed, but they understand that it's not theirs to fix and just leave. You know, just leave. It's like, this is too much. I'm gone. And I feel like looking at the inner child thing, right? I feel like on both ends of that spectrum, it's like there are things that come with that, you know, like the belief that you need to control and handle things that really you cannot you're not even supposed to handle, and then the feel and need of this has nothing to do with me, I'm gonna go. But then it's like, just like I was saying, like it's a survival mechanism. So, you know, you start finding yourself in things where things might be a little bit too spicy, and you just go.
Yo, you know what's crazy too?
Just leave. Yeah.
You know what's crazy? Because I was thinking about generational curses, the idea of generational curses, and I feel like that plays so deeply into that because it's just like, certain people feel responsible for what their previous, you know what I mean? Like whether they be parents or like whatever, what they were raised in, they feel responsible to like either break it or they feel more responsible when they can't break it. So it's like, I thought about that and I thought about what you just said. And I wanted to ask you too, like, you know what I mean? How you feel about that in terms of if you felt responsible in that moment, essentially what you said. But if you felt responsible in that moment to like break a cycle, or if it was, you know, because
it's survival.
It's survival. It might as well just be instant because it's like if you're a kid at that time, it's like, yo, you're not even thinking about none of that shit. But how do you feel about it now? Like after reflecting on it, as opposed to like how you felt at the time as a kid. You know what I mean?
Nah, that's real. I mean, as a kid, like you said, it's just a matter of survival. So you're not reflecting on that, right? But as an adult, I constantly feel the pressure, like every woman I date, and like right now I'm in a relationship, but in the past, even like in my relationship, I question that, right? But in the past, even just dating women, like it's always the feeling of, do I sound like my dad? Does she feel like my mother? And just always feeling like am I repeating something?
Yeah.
Or am I recreating something?
I see. Ooh.
And
That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
That shit's deep.
Ooh.
No, you're totally right.
Am I repeating something or am I recreating something? Or remixing something?
Remixing too, because recreating and repeating could be seen as the same thing, right?
Yeah, it could be. And then sometimes when some things are remixed, it might not look anything like the original.
And that's a good thing.
You know, which is a good thing.
Negative
You know,
cycles, that's a very good thing.
you know,
You want
yeah.
to remix negative cycles.
Yeah, exactly. However, it's like, you know, you could very easily find yourself in a position where it's like it's just a repeat. You're just replaying it. Like, you know, that's crazy. Man, that is very treacherous territory. And, you know, like, you know, whatever your concept of like hell is, right? Because I feel like that idea of hell in reality is actually different for everybody, regardless of like if they have an idea of hell, you know? Because I feel like it's never what you actually think it is, you know? Because if you find yourself in like you're underground and there's fire and brimstone, it's like, oh, I'm in hell. Oh, but I feel like for real, what it looks like something that is something very familiar and very like you wouldn't think it's hell, but it sucks. And it keeps happening over and over again.
Like, how is an overdraft fee or a bad chick gave you the wrong number? Like, that's hell.
Yeah,
I mean, not wrong number, because it's 2023. It's 2023, and like now we have Insta IG and shit, and we have TikTok.
Yo.
But it's like, nah, hell is like, you know, hell is like you're talking to Shorty on the line,
Most primal.
and then you got the Instagram name wrong. Like, that's hell right there.
You said, yeah.
And it's like what Londrell said, I don't know, like not to quote other people, but
bro.
but it's like Londrell said, he's like, hell is a place inside.
I'm not gonna lie. I've never had that experience of like, if a girl gives you a fake number, like what happens? Like, have you caught that shit? Like,
It
what?
sucks.
Like, it's just like,
What happens is you took an L. You took a loss. You took a loss.
like, god damn, you just like, oh, I'm just gonna.
It's a loss. It's a loss for sure.
You know what you gotta do after that is just go to sleep.
It's a
You just gotta go to bed.
Call it a night. It's done.
Oh my god.
But now it's like,
what are you gonna
I'm my bad.
no, that's all good. Onto your point though, like I heard someone say before, like hell is a place inside, and heaven is a state of mind.
Oh my god.
And I think it's even I've heard many iterations of that exact thing, and it's cliche, but cliche things aren't untrue because they're cliches. It just means they've been repeated enough because they are true, but it's lost its value, its shock value.
It's gum that's been chewed too long.
Exactly. You always have good, like, you know, metaphors for that. But no, it really is about perspective. So I definitely see what you're saying.
So fucking.
Yeah, no, that's cool. I think we could. I just want to like where are we at with it? I think we can responsibly ask that in the show. Like where are we at?
Just a little over 19 minutes.
Yo, I want to ask this. How do you know when a piece is done?
How do I know when a piece is done? That's a good ass question. I know writers like hate, and y'all are writers too, so you know, like being asked about questions about the process, because it's like we don't understand our own process, because it just maybe I'm speaking for myself.
Genuinely curious, like genuinely curious, because we, like you're saying, we all have different ways of doing it. I'm noticing the, you know, getting recognized game, so it's like I'm curious.
I think when there's nothing else to be said, and ironically there could be more said on that point about how there are always more things to say. On any poem, on any lyric, on anything, right? There's always more to say in art. But it's like you feel like you told the story you want to tell. And I think that's a point on storytelling. Like Toni Morrison, wow, I sound like a fucking old head. Toni Morrison said, but you know, but it's like, she said, again, I'm butchering it, I'm paraphrasing it, but I'm going to get the essence right.
Yeah.
It's like if it's a story you haven't heard that you want to hear and you haven't heard it, you have to be the one to tell that story.
Yeah.
And my sister, who's a novelist, a writer, would tell me that.
Oh, wow.
And it's true. And I think it's the same thing with the poem or any type of art. It's a painting. It's the same exact thing. It's like,
It's yours.
exactly. And when I first wrote the Inner Child poem, it wasn't done yet because there were certain things I wanted to say that I didn't say. There were certain things that made the story that I didn't say. But when I felt like I told the story I want to tell and communicated what I wanted to communicate, I felt like it was done. And it's not about a message because I don't know what message that anybody would, that's subjective, right? What is a message? A message is what someone takes from it. But I felt like I told the story.
A bar.
My version of my childhood, because my parents might say something different. They might say, "Oh shit, like we were great parents," and they were great parents. But there were certain fucking things that made me write the poem, right? And I told that story, and that's how I knew it was done because I told that story like successfully.
And that's exactly the thing I was like just talking about, like about how people will be doing things, just living their lives, whether it's parents, friends, whatever, and they might do something that they feel might be little, but I mean, depending on who you are and where you are in your growth or whatever, it can have an outsized impact, like down the line. And that person was like, "Come on, that wasn't even. It wasn't that bad. Like, be real, you know." But it's like you don't know what, like the other side often doesn't know what happened. To quote another podcast, Hot Boxing by Mike Tyson.
Hey, Mike Tyson.
This was when it was
Can
in
you do the
black
Mike
and white.
Tyson accent?
No, because it was his co-host at the time, so I don't gotta.
Are you? Be honest. Are you afraid right now that Mike Tyson might hear it and fuck you up?
No, I don't care. No, he won't. So
you heard that, right? He's saying Mike Tyson can't fuck him up.
Oh,
He's scared of two-piece.
You don't want the 2-piece.
Mike Tyson.
Just say that.
Yeah,
Just say you're
Mike
scared.
Tyson will hit me with a 1-piece, and then I'll be waking up with Michael Jackson, dude.
But you know what's crazy? Hey, yo, Paul. Nah, just kidding.
Anyway.
We gotta cut
Basically, what my point was that the quote is, you don't know how much violence it took to become like this gentle or something along those lines. And it's like, you know, it didn't have to be, or it can be, like physical violence or verbal violence or relational violence, you know, all you know, there's levels to it. But especially with relational violence, like the other side is probably not even thinking like, nah, it's not that bad. But then you grow up with all this shit in your mind, and then, you know, and then you look back, it's like, oh, that's why I do this.
But yo,
Yeah,
to be
it's
fair, it's not always shit.
It's not always shit.
In quotes,
It's not always
just
shit.
to take what you said, because
Yeah.
it's like
There's the other side.
it's like it. No, I mean it builds character. Like, bro, like if you don't go through certain shit, you're not gonna have certain traits.
Yeah.
That's just facts. A lot of times we forget like the fucked up shit or like the things here or there that we go through. It's like, you know, it makes us who we are at the end of the day. And if you love who you are, then you love the experiences. But it's a weird thing. It's a weird thing to deal with. And like you gotta have like, I mean, I would hope motherfuckers have like forgiveness in their heart for the people who love them to do things that aren't great to them. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's like speaking for myself, I'm always super appreciative. You know what I mean? If I see that like something made me better, even if I had to take the onus on myself to like make it fuel as opposed to letting it like, you know, eat at me. So it's like, it's crazy. It's deep, but it's like, it's true. You know what I mean?
Nah, it's facts.
is what it is.
Have y'all seen? Everyone's seen Men in Black, right?
Yeah.
Like, you know that little device that makes you lose memory.
Yeah.
Like, I've thought about that before. Like, what if we had that device and it existed now, right?
Yeah, that should be a problem.
It would be a problem, but it would be like, at first it'd be cool. Like, you would think it'd be cool. Like, oh, your ex on some fuck shit, boom, erase. But it's like you know, like that would be cool. But imagine if we really forgot all the shit that made us who we are, but we don't see it that way. It's like exactly what you're saying is that we don't see the things that happen to us really make us who we are, and that's why like I really look a certain type of way on people who have dealt with nothing. And I think most people have dealt with something to the point where it's like, if everybody dealt with something, is that just the norm?
Yeah.
That's a good point too.
Yeah.
But it's like it's not the norm, and everybody's dealt with a lot of people have dealt with something. I'm gonna rephrase my question, my statement. And I forgot my statement.
Yeah, no, I see what you're saying. I was just gonna say, like, if the neuralizer from Men in Black was real, like, it would be so crazy because it would just take one person to, like.
That's all I was gonna say.
No, I was gonna say, like, it would take one person to be like, oh wow, like, I don't know why I was even feeling like super crazy yesterday. They decided to take psychedelics one time, and all that, everything that got wiped is beamed. Yeah, no.
Bro.
In real life, that would be an issue.
All that's popping right back up. Yeah, that's crazy.
And that along those lines, so I was gonna say, like,
Having dreams of that. So anyway, yeah.
No, for real. And
thinking it's not even. Yeah.
And it's like, if nobody dealt with anything, and they have to take psychedelics to bring that humanity back to them, because like I say humanity on purpose, and I emphasize that because that's part of the human experience is dealing with shit, dealing with trauma. They will be boring. Mm-hmm. But then also, part of me wonders, like, is that, and this is maybe a larger conversation, but is that really just glorifying trauma? That trauma makes me interesting. Sometimes I think, I could write so well, and I'm not saying I'm the best writer, but I know plenty of people better than me, but I feel like I have, just a penchant for the pen. Yeah. And it's like, is it only because I've dealt with shit?
Yeah, bro.
Or is it because...
Don't beat yourself up is what I was saying.
How I look at it is... How I look at it is like this, which I think is perfect because, your poem had themes of fire. It's like, fire could, like, keep you warm, when you're cold. But fire could also burn down your house. It's like, whether or not trauma is something that's needed for something like this or whatever like that, I don't know if that's necessarily the case, but it's a thing that happens, like before colonization, everything like that, and like when ecosystems were like basically untouched, something like a fire burning through a forest was actually, it's part of the cycle, it's part of things washing away
the natural.
It's natural, and then so that's fire that helps. Those dead leaves probably didn't appreciate it, and any of the insects or like some of the wildlife that got caught up in it probably did not appreciate it. But like for the ecosystem,
I'm imagining a deer like, yo, motherfucker, I had my whole shit set up, and now you want to have a fire so you could eat raw meat.
He stands up on his hind legs,
exactly,
right?
Man.
Hey, bro.
I'd be tight.
Well, I mean, but let me say this though. Like, there's a difference between like burning acres of like forest for like eating versus like burning acres to replenish the land. And again, I don't want to say your trauma is something that was like replenishing the land, but like as fire burns, like there are some plants that literally need that fire to open up, like because of the things that are burning from the ground. Like without the natural wildfires, like, or even indigenous burnings, which what they used to do, once upon a time, like certain plants wouldn't even get to live, like they don't get to pollinate, they don't get to do anything. So it's like, I look at it like that. It's like something that is, it can be so destructive, but also so restorative too. Yeah, no, I mean, yeah. And that's how I look at basically what you were saying. Like, it's nature, it's balance, it's yin and yang.
You need to burn a bridge before you build it, right? Like, you need to, and that was also another problem. New shit. No.
Okay. Wow. An amazing episode. Another one. That's pretty dope. We talked about a lot of stuff. A lot of inner healing, talking about inner child. Yo, Aaron, are you feel healed right now?
Motherfucker, do I feel healed? I'm the healeder. Like I am not only healed, but I feel like I'm in a position just from being able to talk about this, like I could heal, and healing is an ongoing process. I'm not done with that yet, but Just being able to
I
talk
see.
about
So
it.
You're healed, but you're also the healeder. Like
I'm a healer, exactly,
you're already
because it's only.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I didn't even see it that way, but it's true. It's
I
like
see
it's
what you're
only
saying.
when you have engaged in the process of healing, you can heal others. And I'm not there yet, but shit,
You're working on it.
I think I'm working on it.
Colo,
That's what we do.
There we go.
how you feeling? You
Kill-
healed up?
Bro, bless as
Kill
always,
the poet.
bro.
Yeah.
Kill the
Bless
poet.
as always, bro. We killed it again, bro.
Oh man, all praises.
Killed
to
it
you.
again.
Yeah.
All praises to
Hey, Aaron, where can they find you?
So y'all can find me at _ not to be confused with dash, right? Underscore.
True.
Yeah.
True.
Pen-
Actually.
Don't forget them.
No, yeah, like no.
People be getting confused. Yeah.
People, it's like what if fucking damn Jadena? You know his name? The rapper?
Oh yeah.
You know, yeah.
I'm bad at pronunciation of anybody, but
No, yeah, I know
he
what
was
you're talking
like he was like they can't read, but they know their Instagrammer. Like, you know?
Yeah,
so I had to just clarify. Like, you know? But,
Instagrammer. Yeah.
but yeah, so it's not dash, it's just underscore. If you want to follow me, underscore pensive, PENSIVE, poet.
All right, and then as you guys know, I'm Young Toledo, YUNGTOLEDO _, and then what's that boy's? What's your
You already know. Young Colo, Colo Kai, IAKOLOK. Follow me on Instagram, Twitter.
It's good. Some respect on this man's name. All right,
go.
hey, and we are out.
Kill the po-po.